Storybook Brawl was nice enough to send me some dust codes, so I'm doing another giveaway. Stick around to the end of the video to find out how you can enter to win.
What is up, everybody? I'm No Lux Given, and today we are going to be taking another look at Muerte. We just played Muerte a few days ago, and we played some Trophy Hunter in the meantime. I think that Princess P has definitely been making me take another look at some of these lesser used heroes, wanting to do some fun things with the new character. But this video is not going to feature Princess P. It's going to feature basically everything else fun that you can do with Muerte, and I think that Princess P just made me more likely to pick the hero, try it out, and I'm glad it did, because this winds up being a super powerful game where, honestly, I almost have too many options. There's one point towards the end of the game where I've got 11 characters and I'm trying to figure out which combination of those 11 characters I even want to play, because I just have so many different ways that I could build my board. And we get a pretty strong start to this game as well, picking up a Humpty Dumpty on turn 1, just so that way we can keep our health total high. We are one of the only 2 undefeated players alongside Jack's Giant, which is a very strong early game hero. Everybody else in this lobby has taken some damage, but this Humpty is keeping us strong. And then we also get a Frog Prince and a Sherwood Sure Shot to be strong, as well as a Cindy to build a treasure. It does look like we will potentially lose a combat here, though. No, we are just going to, well, we crack our egg, so kind of losing some aspect of our combats. But we are still in it, still kicking at 45 health. I'm going to fire off a Shrink Ray, and definitely want to pick up Lucky, so that way we can start to get some Muerte triggers going. That is going to be one of the not one of the better Muerte triggers that you can get. Mummy is definitely better at this stage of the game, but especially when I just had an egg cracked and don't really have too many units. Like, I'd say right now I've got the Sure Shot, the Frog Prince, and the Mad Mim. The Cindy is not going to stick around forever. The Happy Little Tree only really works on the Mad Mim, so that's not going to stick around forever. And you can see now we are starting to lose some of our combats, but we're getting 2 free units in this shop. So that definitely makes up for it. I'll fire off a free roll. I could have gone for the Brave Princess there, but I liked the economy of hanging on to everything. And, like, we can still sell off this Happy Little Tree. We could even still sell off the Humpty. So I do think that it is worth rolling. And then we are going to find a Mummy for ourselves and just going to move around the board a little bit. And I am going to backline both of the Luckies. That way, the Muerte trigger will go on the Mummy. Honestly, I kind of like, from that position, selling off the Humpty rather than the Wizard's Familiar, because maybe we could build into, like, some Monster Book shenanigans once we level up. But I decide to hang on to the egg, and I think that's going to make us plenty strong for this combat. We'll see if either of our Luckies are able to crack. Actually, they do, and my opponent's Queen of Hearts survives with 1 health, despite getting nerfed down to 1 health on this patch, but that's okay. And then when we complete this lucky triple, well, Cloak of the Assassin and the Quiver are not super exciting treasures, but Ball is a really exciting treasure. So I do want to pick up Ball, and then once I pick up Ball, Locked Chest is a pretty reasonable bet from there. Potentially we could take the Hat, and then we have Hat Ball. That much is pretty straightforward. I didn't love any of the other treasure options there either, but the idea that we could maybe start to be Hat Ballin' seemed pretty good to me. Those treasures are also going to pump up the Crafty that we found, and then I am going to keep the upgraded Lucky in the back line still, I think, because now we can potentially win the spinning gold with the Mummy getting the Muerte trigger. Maybe that's just wrong. Maybe once you have an upgraded Lucky, you just want to go for that. We're not even going to wind up seeing it die, so we're not going to get that trigger at all, but we do get 3 bonus gold from the Mummy. And then we are on 4.0. So there's a lot of really powerful stuff that we can do on 4.0. We can start by feeding the Kraken. That is totally free. And honestly, I don't hate Sugar and Spice on the Brave Princess just because it already managed to slay last turn. From there, I'm going to buy some XP. It's basically free, so might as well. And honestly, I don't hate the True Love's Kiss here either. And we can do it right on the Lightning Dragon. Grab a tier 5 unit. A lot of those are really powerful. And I think that just gives us a good chance to win this combat. A 13-10 Southern Siren should be able to take out most stuff. Now, we are playing up against Jack's Giant, so that part is a little bit awkward, but we can potentially make it work. And then I'm also going to pick up a Spellweaver for 2 reasons. And I wound up moving around my board a little bit at the end there too. Unfortunately, our Siren gets attacked into, so that is a little bit annoying. But pick up the Spellweaver because it's good with Muerte if we go into Monster Book. But we also already have Crystal Ball, so we do want some mages eventually in some capacity. So we're going to want to figure that out, and I'll just wind up firing off a health potion here. Next turn, the idea is we can potentially find ourselves with an Aeon, and that's kind of the idea. I'm definitely going to want to pick up monster books in the meantime, and alongside the monster book, I also noticed that there is a copycat in this shop, which I think I am going to go for as well. Now, there are some interesting ways that we could still build this board. We could put the copycat into 2 and then also grab the lucky trigger, and because of the way that the trigger rework happened in this most recent patch, we will get doubled up copies of the monster book. So we just want to throw that monster book in 5. It used to be different. Don't worry about it if you don't know what I'm talking about. It just makes sense now. So we aren't going to get the Brave Princess Slay, but we will get a copycat attack, and then we will not be able to get the Siren attack. That is just going to be a little bit too tiny. It's going to get attacked into there. And monster books are triggering, so that's giving us some spells. It's nice. We are still going to take a little bit of damage, 21, or 8 damage down to 21, but then we get to pick up the hat. So honestly, I'm feeling pretty good here. I'll wind up picking up a copycat and another copycat, and that also gives us Forking Rod, which is pretty insane. And there's definitely a big temptation to take the XP spell there, to take the Turkish Delight. The reason I do not is I do think it would still be good for me to try to find an Aeon right now. And if I take 2 XP for 2 gold, granted, maybe it was a mistake not to. But I just feel like Aeon is going to do so much good stuff for us that I don't really want to buy the XP. Kind of wound up regretting it. It just would have been such a good rate. 2 gold, 2 XP, then we're Muerte and we're on 6. If we find something to play other than mages, that would have been fine too. So probably should have gone for that, but now the plan is to just roll with it and find a Muerte, or an Aeon rather. Sorry, I got a little bit distracted by this combat. I was curious, are we going to kill that prized pig? Because that is a big bounty in the backline, and we are indeed going to be able to. So feeling pretty good at this stage of the game. I'm going to pick up another Spellweaver, and then I believe I might pick up another monster book as well. And now we've got an upgraded copycat popping on an upgraded monster book with Muerte, and then, oh yeah, we also have Hatball Fork. So pretty good treasures, pretty good everything. I'm going to True Love's Kiss the Siren into an Oni Tyrant, and then I will roll the die and pick up 2 more things to end off the turn. I am debating, like, okay, do I want to play... I actually can't play the Gingerbread Knight yet because I'm at exactly 21. But do I want to play the ranged units? Where do I want to put my monster, my Oni Tyrant? It's all a little bit weird. I'm mostly banking on my backline in this combat. The upgraded monster book that's going to cast 4 spells to start off the combat, and then 2 more spells when it dies, and then 2 35 attack ranged units. And I think that's going to be pretty good for us here. We also have the Amy doing a little bit more damage, but the Spellweavers are going to be able to hold down the fort. I don't hate the Baba Yaga at this stage of the game, but I really just want to spend my gold this turn picking up an Aeon. And part of the reason that I do want the Aeon, by the way, I do go for this, it's 8 health. That definitely seemed a lot more appropriate there because you get the health bonus for it as well. But part of the reason I want the Aeon is then I can use the monster book to continue to scale my mages in combat as well. So all of that could have been good. I don't really need a second monster book when I'm playing Muerte, just because then you have an upgraded monster book and an unupgraded one, and it kind of splits your priorities in a weird way. But I think that we are plenty strong here now. We are lobby leader once again after some life gain has put us up to 29 health, and just a bunch more spells than any of my opponents can hope to be cast in here. So here's 4 spells that's going to wipe out most of what my opponents do, and we're also 2 XP up on them, and feeling pretty good about everything here. So I guess we're 2 XP up on the lobby as a whole. We had an overflow XP with the end that we cast, but a huge Scion of the Storm doing pretty good, I think. And I think at this point I'm going to look to drop the copycat, because we really don't need to be doing it. It's kind of like a win more thing. And then I see a knighthood in the shop, and I'm thinking, okay, knighthood on this Scion of the Storm would be pretty sweet. We'll play the copycat for one more turn, because we're going to have to sell some units to afford this knighthood. But I did think that this was worth spending 10 on. Maybe I was wrong. It's always tough to tell if you should spend gold knighthooding your Scion of the Storm, and I'm never sure what the right answer is. But now we have an upgraded Scion of the Storm, and there is one other reason that upgrading Scion of the Storm as soon as possible is kind of cool, and we'll get to that in a little bit. That is going to have some interesting synergies with Muerte. Unfortunately, Scion is going to attack right into my opponent's Rotten Tree, and we actually lose a combat. We take 6 from Gwen, not a huge deal. Also, not really interested in additional Spellweavers if it means losing a Spellweaver at this point in the game, so not going to worry about that. I'm not sure if you guys can hear in the background tiny woody footprints rushing around. We do also have a good boy in this shop, and good boy Muerte is certainly something to think about at some point, especially because look at all these spells that we're casting. All of our units are actually good now, and for that reason I wind up picking up the good boy. We've got good boy copycat, and we can just throw all these extra spells on it and make some good stuff work in that capacity. I'm going to end the turn off with a forking rotted kidnap. I guess I'm debating it against the pup, but I do wind up going for it there at the last second, and that is going to let us steal 2 nutcrackers. Unfortunately, our copycat... Oh no, it was able to attack. Okay, sorry, I got a little bit distracted there. Woody is making a whole bunch of noise, and you can see our Scion of the Storm is absolutely massive here. Unfortunately, our monster book did not crack because it was in the front row, or it was in the back row rather. Maybe that means we should move it to the front row. It does then become a little bit awkward, because then maybe we won't get the copycat good boy trigger, and I'm gonna spend 10 gold this turn to upgrade the good boy. So that kind of makes some things interesting there. Then we will Luna's Grace on the good boy, and then we see a really interesting option in the shop. We also got a free monster book, by the way, from that oh, what is the name of that spell? The Shard of the Ice Queen. And what I'm eyeing up here, this is the turn where I just have way too many options. What I'm eyeing up is the Croc spell. And excuse me, I think that the Croc could be a lot of fun here. I'm going to throw the Scion of the Storm in the Croc. Could have also done the good boy. There were a lot of options this game. Unfortunately, my opponent's Cupid is going to target the Croc, which after a small freeze of my game, unfortunately also blanks my Muerte trigger for the turn. They are going to fix that, I believe, eventually, but this turn we just don't get a Muerte trigger. But the idea is, on future turns, Copycat will attack and just summon a whole bunch of Scions of the Storm. So that's the idea here. It is going to be still strong enough that we win our combat this turn, but we got to figure out what we want to do from here. We pick up a pair of mummies against Supreme Kitty, and I think one thing that we could do is just potentially, like, play the Croc in the front line. I'm really not sure. There's so many different directions to take that. I wind up Mix-a-Whizzling or True Love's Kissing, rather, the Monster Book. That's going to give us a Lightning Dragon, and then I'm just playing a frontline Croc. I'm kind of done with the Monster Books at this point. I am going to throw another Monster Book inside of this Croc. That way maybe, you know, that's a potential better last breath for us there too. Then I'm going to get rid of the Good Boy. It was doing some good work. There were just so many different directions that we could play this game though, and with all of the other Mage Treasure synergies that we had and the Monster Books, I thought these Scions were the way to go. We are going to get our backline Croc as well as one of our Scions scammed, but that's not enough. We are just way too massive here, and we are still going to crush my opponent this turn. So yeah, definitely a little bit of a different type of game. We just had so many different options, so many different ways that we could take this, but I think that going for all of these Scions was definitely a strong strategy that does wind up working out, or creating all these Scions potentially from the Croc. And here I'm just going to sell off some of my units so that I can roll a few more times. That's going to let me triple Wizard's Familiar. I actually really like playing down a unit at this point, so that way our Scions are guaranteed to summon. But then when I find the Hermes Magic Beans on the last shop of the turn, I realize, wait a minute, I should put this Copycat back in, and now Copycat is going to swing out. That'll summon a bunch of Scions for us, and then we still have a Monster Book and another Scion hiding inside of these Crocs. So really, really powerful stuff here. That's going to be able to take down this Trees Comp from my opponent, and is going to be enough to get us the win. And a pretty funny end game screenshot here as well. Here's Woody. You wanted to say hi real quick. Say hi, Woodrow. Thought this was a really sweet game just because it went over like a bunch of different things that you can do with Muerte. We had mummies, we had Lucky, we had Good Boy, we had Monster Book, and then eventually we were crocking out massive Scions of the Storm, and basically everything but Princess P, but we were able to do some really fun stuff here nonetheless. That is going to be it for me today. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm No Lux Given. Peace. Here's the details for my giveaway this week. Just leave a comment on any of my videos that includes the word animal. New week, new code word, and you'll be entered into a chance to win a 4,000 dust code. The reason that I say to include the word, that way I can differentiate between the people just leaving a comment and those that are actually interested in the dust, to make sure that it goes to a person that will appreciate it. And there's no limit to how many times you can enter. You can go back and comment on some of my previous videos. I've been uploading daily Storybook Brawl videos for the past 7 or 8 months at this point, so I'm sure there is some sweet content that you have yet to see. And yeah, you can enter multiple times. I will do a new code next week, and the other thing that I wanted to say is that if a bunch of people enter, I will give away more codes. So that's just going to be limited by how many people are entering and how many people are commenting. Let's get this channel to over 1,000. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you very much for watching. I'm No Lux Given. Peace.